All right, who wants to start?
I'll start.
Hey, Tim.
Mentioned yesterday, a few times you said that, ask you about Kuminga in the basketball when he signed. Well, he signed. How do you see?
You're telling me I have to do better than I
No,
did
I'm saying
yesterday?
you set up the great context for what
Okay.
today is going to likely be. Just basketball-wise, he obviously was out of the rotation for key moments last season. Do you say that still could happen? Or do you think that he does have a real fixed role in what you want to do? I know things could change, but just generally, how do you see this role happening this season?
Well, first of all, I'm happy for Jonathan. I mean, that's it may not be the contract he was hoping for, but that's life-changing money, and I'm really happy for him and his family. And the whole idea is to help him get better, help him become the player that he can become, and sign a few more of those contracts. And that's what he has to focus on, and that's what I have to focus on, the getting better part, where he can help us. Because that's really been, kind of the thing that's held him back, right, is what we need versus what he wants to do. And there's no denying that that's been an issue, and there's no denying that there's a place for him on this team. We don't have that big athletic wing player like he represents. But the fact is we're going to run our offense through Steph and Jimmy for obvious reasons. They're two of the best players in the league. They create stuff for other players. So JK, the more he can defend with activity, rebound, run the floor, then the better chance he has to play. And so everybody progresses at a different rate. Things can click, but those are the things I'm going to continue to ask of him. And I have no doubt too that there's going to be times this year where we got to get him the ball and run the offense through him. We got an older team. There's going to be games where Steph is out, Jimmy's out, maybe both of them are out. So we're going to ask JK to do what we ask every player to do, and that's commit to whatever it takes to win the game. That's the idea.
Plenty of this summer's negotiations.
Say it again.
Plenty of this summer's negotiations were about him maybe trying to get elsewhere, and even the contract he signed, sets it up to him potentially being traded come January. How do you, as you try to coach day to day, deal with that? That's going to kind of be looming in the background.
The first thing is a great conversation with JK. I mean, that's to me, this is at the heart of any good team culture is communication. We have to have a really good sit down, and he and I have always gotten along well. There's never been any issues on a personal front for us. It's just about fit, and it's just about what we need, and it's about how he sees himself, how we see him. So that means we have to have a really good conversation before we start the season. I mean, for sure, in the next couple of days, to make sure we all get on the same page.
What message do you want to get across in that sit-down conversation?
Basically everything I've just talked about. How can you find your way into a really good role? What does that mean? What our team looks like? Everything that that I've been kind of discussing here the last couple of minutes.
And then just how much do you want to use the first part of the season, first 10, 15, however many games, to see some of those combinations that we might not have gotten to see that much in the second half of last season? Jimmy and JK, Draymond, Jimmy, JK.
Yeah, I mean, we'll absolutely throw that lineup out there. We also are going to fit Al into the group now. I mean, we got to see him and how he impacts things, and so we've got a lot of different lineup combinations that we need to get to. And as always, we experiment, and we have both the eye test and the numbers. I don't know if you know this. We got like 10 people down there crunching numbers, giving me everything, lineup combination-wise, two-man combinations, three-man combinations. So we take all the data, we look at everything on film, and we make decisions based on what gives us the best chance to win.
Steve, just to follow up from yesterday, did you talk to him at all, Jonathan, during this process?
I reached out to Jonathan quite a bit over the summer. This is, I always operate this way. I am constantly, talking to our players and reaching out and offering help.
And you mentioned it yesterday and today. Several of the veteran guys mentioned it the other day. There's that separation between business and basketball. Why aren't you guys concerned that it could be a lingering distraction if things don't go his way early?
I mean, we got a good team. We got powerful leadership in the locker room. I've known JK for 4 years now. He's not that guy to come in and, tear a team down, We got a ton of depth on this team. We got a lot of people who can play. We got a lot of guys ready to step in. Jimmy instantly changed our team last year. Jimmy is an alpha. Steph and Draymond are alphas. They run that locker room. I'm not worried about anything.
How crucial is the Al Horford addition?
It's huge, to have not only a space five, but it's not just any space five. It's Al Horford. I mean, rebounds, defends, smart, good passer. Just watching him today, you could see the fit, how smooth it is. He could play with Draymond, space the floor as a five. He could, play with Trace, and Trace could be the dive man. We could play two bigs with him. He can also play the five himself. We could have a five-out lineup. So Al's versatility and, the fact that he fits in any lineup just makes him hugely valuable right away.
Hey, Steve, how do you personally measure growth on and off the court as you enter a new season in hopes to win another championship?
Sorry, how do I measure what?
Growth on and off the court.
Growth on and off the court?
Yeah.
As it relates to what?
As you enter another season in hopes to lead to another championship.
Growth for our team?
Yeah.
I mean, you get a feeling, you get a vibe as a coach, early in camp, what kind of team you have, what you need to see, and then you try to present a vision for the team, and that your culture is, always trying to get the best out of everybody, give the guys a great vibe that they get to feel every day and enjoy practice and enjoy the process. And we try to do that every year, but every year's different, and you have to get a feel for your players to know kind of which buttons to push, what moves to make, that kind of thing.
With DeAnthony Melton coming off a knee injury, I was wondering for you, what are your expectations for him coming into this season? Is it, do you expect to see what you saw last year, or do you expect it kind of slow, a little bit slower progression?
I think he's right around 9 months from the ACL. The plan is he's not going to be in, our practice sessions yet. He's going to do individual work. He's coming along really well, but he's not playing in a game anytime soon. The idea is we give him work. I don't know if we announced anything yet, Raymond, or not really. I mean, the hope is that sometime in the next couple of months, he's ready both, in terms of his rehab and his conditioning and his rhythm, and we get him playing somewhat early in the season. But what that means really all depends on his rehab. But we're so excited to get him back. I mean, you guys saw last year, even in 7 or 8 games, whatever he played, great fit, great guy, two-way player. But we'll give him all the time he needs to get better.
What do you think it'll be like for Seth Curry to step in the same locker room as his brother? Kind of cool to be here, but also endless questions, endless comparisons. What do you think that dynamic will be like?
I think it's awesome. When I got here, I think Seth had just played in Santa Cruz, if I'm not mistaken, about 11 years ago. And, and then he set off on his own course and made a really good career for himself. I think the timing feels right on this. I don't know that the timing was right over recent years. We probably didn't have the playing time for him. He was in a place where he was going to teams and playing a lot, making money, and it just feels like they're both at a point in their careers where this makes a ton of sense. I'm thrilled to have Seth and to see the two brothers side by side today at our meeting. It's pretty awesome.
Steve, Al didn't play back-to-backs last year in Boston. Is that going to be the plan for him here as well?
That'll depend on Rick and the performance staff, but, it's a safe bet that he's going to miss, games just because it doesn't make sense for him to play 82 at the age of 39. So we'll figure that out as we go.
And with DeAnthony being out for a little bit, what did you learn about both Brandon and Buddy last year at the two-guard spot next to Steph, especially after Jimmy was part of the picture as well?
Both guys really played well, down the stretch next to Jimmy. Jimmy makes everybody better, so does Steph. Buddy obviously had a hell of a playoff run, had some huge games for us, Game 7 in Houston. So the shooting, the competitiveness, the defense, he did a really good job in that series defensively. And then BP is, he connects the game. I talk about it all the time, but the game makes sense when BP's on the floor. So even in that series against Minnesota when he's not shooting well, the lineup combinations make sense. The ball moves. We find Steph on the backside of the play. Those are all things that BP helps us with. And as a result, for both of his seasons now, he's been one of our highest plus-minus guys. So those numbers don't lie. There's a reason he's out there as much as he is.
Hey, Steve. Saw that Natalie Nakase and the Valkyrie staff were watching you guys practice yesterday. I know she shouted you a little bit mid-season last year. So just wondering, what have your conversations been with her coach-to-coach kind of been like?
With Natalie?
Yeah.
So she started coming to our coaches' meetings last year in the spring to, kind of prepare for her season. So I really enjoyed having her. She was really just observing. And then once her season started, we communicated quite a bit, but there hasn't been a ton of basketball talk and X's and O's. It's been more just a good friendship and a support of each other. She's a wonderful person and a great vibe, fun to be around. And obviously, she crushed it this year. She and her staff did an amazing job. So it's been fun to get to know her.
What type of defense do you expect to have this year? And then, I guess to follow on that, just how do you feel about where you guys are at point of attack defensively?
Yeah, I think point of attack is probably the biggest thing for us this year because we got a lot of great help behind the play with Draymond and Al and Jimmy. And I think Moses will again take on that role, which he did so well after the trade of guarding the ball, guarding the other team's best player, really hounding the ball, and that gives him a role that he really has taken to. But that's where we expect BP to get better. That's where JK can really help. It's where Melton can really give us a lift as well. So I think this team is more capable of switching than last year's team, and we're going to tweak a few things, but I'm excited. I think I mentioned yesterday, Jimmy alone makes us better defensively because of what he does on offense. He doesn't turn it over and he gets to the foul line. And so instantly we get better defensively just by having Jimmy. Monty?
As this, it was 92 days from July 1st to yesterday. As this thing played out and Joe and Mike and John were doing their work, how much communication, I guess, was there with you, and how comfortable with what they were doing were you as you watched this thing play out?
I talk to Mike every day. whether anything's going on or not. You know, we touch base every day. And so he shared with me what was happening. And I told him there's a reason I hated being a GM. And those 92 days were a great example of that. So I much prefer being a coach and letting management handle all the contract stuff.
So when you look at the way it ended up, how do you feel about the way it ended up in general?
I learned a long time ago we are all worth exactly what we can negotiate. It's just the truth. So it seems like a logical conclusion to end up where each side did. And, you know, again, that's really Mike's department, but he was kind of, you know, telling me what was happening all along. Again, I'm happy for JK. I mean, he just, I guess, tripled his salary. It's a lot of money, and he's a young guy. He's got a lot of growth and a lot of time in his career ahead of him. And again, the contract stuff can be messy, but eventually you get where you're supposed to go.
Obviously, Al brings the spacing to your team, but he's also known for his legendary locker room leadership. How do you sort of foresee that factoring into this season?
Yeah, I've had people from Boston just text me, call me, rave about how much he meant, and we're going to need that without Loon. You know, losing Loon, we lost a piece of our soul. We lost one of the great leaders I've ever been around. And he didn't really have to say much to be that great leader. So we're going to miss Loon, and I feel very lucky to have Al to fill some of that void. Thanks.